So hello everybody, I'm here with Dalia, Dan Winter, as you know, and we had a bit of a challenge to talk a little bit more in depth and perhaps even personally about the story of Thoth.
Yeah.
Dalia has had a lot of experience communicating with, and it's actually not the first time we had a communication with Thoth. Actually, for about 15 years I worked with a guy named William Buehler, the Templar originator, website goldenmean.info/Buehler, B-U-E-H-L-E-R, and they called it the Temple Doors with Simeon and Maya, and that group, communicating the Templar agenda of the repair of the fabric of time, they claimed to be literally in communication with Thoth about every day, which to some would seem, unusual, but actually he had a very consistent teaching agenda, which we're going to talk about, which is in parallel to Dalia's experience. Dalia, you want to say?
Yeah, it seems that I'm here on a very specific mission, and not so much about like information gathering or like specific plans. It's like I get my instructions in time, and they're definitely helping me in the background, and Thoth is guiding the whole process. So it's mostly about activating the light body, which is, Thoth is using my vessel, where he can channel energy and actually do pretty ancient rituals, like magi rituals, ancient Egyptian temple rituals that are happening, and it's helping with the planetary ascension and lifting off the karma of humanity off the planet, like making things lighter and brighter for humanity and for the planet Earth.
That we were talking a little bit about the fact that my old friends at Gaia TV just produced their new documentary on who is Thoth. And I those people were very sincere, obviously, but at the same time, I mean vague mysteries, vague mythologies, and nothing like specific daily intentional communication. And I was thinking at that time of the story Dalia told about, I think she was in Berlin, and there was this schoolyard that was pretty much surrounded by 5G towers, messy. And Thoth was obviously aware that 5G and other related electrosmog was literally a threat to the connection of the souls of the children in that schoolyard, and took amazing action. Do you want to say a little bit more?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's about clearing the parasitic entities. And I've been doing this work since then, and I've even been doing it here in Villefranche and Verneuil-les-Bains. And as I clear my vessel more, I could see clearly what I'm working with. So I perceive those entities as like shadow entities that I see either lurking off of the town. Like I can see, especially when the church bell rings, it almost like creates the sound vibration and it illuminates. I could see clearly where the dark entities are. And then I start my ritual. And what Thoth has been teaching me and guiding me to do and doing through me is we create a vortex field, essentially, in the sky. And that, through magnetism, it's like a vacuum cleaner for the parasitic entities.
The implosion does the sorting, and it really sucks.
It really sucks.
Actually, and at the center of the implosion, obviously, is the sorting, which brings us to one of the real points here, which is that, people argue about who was the personality and history of Thoth, and Lawrence Gardner said, Tehuti was later mispronounced DWD, and that was called the line of David in the Bible, is Thoth, and Thutmosis means the line of the Egyptian kings, which is sons of Thoth, and sons of Thoth is also the Grail bloodline, also. So the guy gets around.
Yeah.
But the point is that how we identify it's not about the personality or even the personal story so much, is the mission, underlying the mission, which Dalia was just describing, for example, literally redeeming these fractionating souls of the kids, and what they call the repair of the fractality of time, which is, remember, time is only a name for relative spin rate, so when spin rates embed and implode, they become centripetal and then self-aware. That's charge collapse. So it's actually the physics that identifies the fun part here.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going with this, is that if we understood the deeper science of, then we confirm the history story, actually.
Yeah, and it's no longer shamanic work or magic. It's no longer like a mystery. What does the shaman do to dispel like negative energies? What does the exorcist do when they exorcise an entity out of somebody and they call in the Holy Ghost and they call in the Christ consciousness. Like these are frequencies that have like a signature. Like when you look at the picture of a photon of light, it looks exactly like a cross. You know, so essentially we're dealing with the physics of reality, and we're learning to manipulate these frequencies so that we can create a harmonic field for the planet and for humans to reside in, so that they can have the most aligned thoughts and fulfill their potential. And essentially their potential is to live their divine selves, to be their divine sovereign selves, and to be connected in the soul to the sun, to the stars, to the planet Earth, to the vibrations of what creates life on this planet.
And that's so beautifully and exquisitely the essence of the Thoth story. They call it tablets of Hermes or emerald tablets, and they say as above, so below, obviously meaning fractality. And Thoth Hermes is the caduceus, and Thoth Hermes is the design of the pyramid. And the pyramid's function is to take Earth Schumann harmonics, phase conjugate pump wave, implode that into the longitudinal array, which is both the collective unconscious and global wireless power. And that physics, as above, so below, obviously fractality, underlies this mission. So when the Templars said, we are repairing the fabric of time, and that Earth needs to restore its fractality or embedding in time, what that literally means is every time your body implodes in that frequency cascade called Schumann, which is the alpha gamma frequencies of the brainwave of bliss. It's the same frequencies, also identical with what makes the pyramids work, and also identical with what makes plasma healing work, phi ray, all that stuff. So when you get aligned with exactly those very specific frequencies, which is the perfect caduceus called phase conjugation, that enables the embedding and the charge collapse, which puts you in connection with, as Dalia would then say, inhabiting the longitudinal array. And the bigger the array you can
That's what you would say.
But
yes, I would say the higher self.
Yeah, well,
the higher self,
good.
Embedding into that higher self personality or identity.
Yeah, you're embedding in a larger array. You're embedded in the array of the synapses of your brain, obviously, and that's a vortex, your consciousness, which is imploding, which is why consciousness is centripetal. But suddenly, if you can implode into a bigger array, you got a bigger eyeball. And that's what Dalia is seeing. I hear it sometimes clairaudiently, but Dalia.
Yeah, the reason I could see beyond this dimension, and I could see what they call beyond the veil, is basically cultivating an ability of seeing, which is a very workable skill that you can train. And it's through lucid dreaming that this ability can be cultivated, which essentially, when you inhabit the larger array, your eye then becomes the bigger eye.
Which is the symbol of the Hermes of Thoth. You become the bigger eye, which is the eye of the sun, as it were.
Yeah.
And so the longer the wave you can become embedded or doing charge collapse inside of, you become the centripetal in the tornado of the bigger hologram, which is the bigger eyeball. And we have documented very extensively, the triggering frequency signature charge collapse physics of clairvoyance, which is obviously embedding into the array, which is why sometimes in our plasma devices people get clairvoyant. They see through the body like a hologram. Or the kids, they make that same frequency signature in their brainwave just before they can see without their eyes, and suddenly they're seeing their dead grandmothers, and they realize, the kid became clairvoyant. So imploding into the array means you've identified with that array. And suddenly then that whole array is your eyeball. And that's what they say is the next dimension, which obviously they call it the next density. What they mean is the superposed axes of spin symmetry, which phase lock only constructively by golden ratio, obviously, how tetracube gets into dodec, etc. And so all that business of how you go to the next dimension used to be subjective, but now it's a very accurate electrical engineering science, which we could call hermetic, as in Thoth.
Yeah, and it works in layers, because Thoth, you can connect with higher self guide, and then to the higher self of that higher self, and that's the son to father embedding. That is, of course, in the Jesus Isa story, and how he connected to his father in heaven. Well, that is very similar to when I'm connecting to Thoth, and then from Thoth I'm connecting to Enki. And these are these levels of dimensionality that you can access it means you go deeper within yourself, and you implode into the bliss array of the higher dimension. And it can be actually physically demanding. Like, this is not physically easy, but this is why purifying your vessel, clearing yourself of like residual emotions, like entanglements, basically karmic entanglements, which all of us in the collective are engaged with. Like, this is the prime time for healing. Like, healing has never been so popular. So the entire collective, at least the majority, are occupied with self-healing and inner healing, because that is exactly the threshold that we're stepping into this new age, this illumination of our divine selves, bringing it into the physical body, into the physical existence.
And that fits the story with Dalia had this amazing sort of initiation in the plasma of the Theraphi and later Phi ray, which we now know is phase conjugate, implosion literally. But that, so I had 20 years of Kundalini experience, and then I wrote a book on Enki, goldenmean.info/Enki if you want to read the book. And then our friend Anton Parks had Kundalini experience after, and then he wrote a book on Enki.
Yeah.
So why would, and
why?
This is,
why does it always come back to Enki, right?
This is what Dalia is saying, what Jesus Isa called Father in Heaven. Actually, you're coming to the fractal root of the genetic memory in that sense, literally the nub of the stem, literally the stem cell. And as you begin to identify that, which is called dedifferentiation, which is how you make stem cells, which is, by the way, one of the things we can do with phase conjugate plasma, the time reversal called dedifferentiation, which is an introduction to the physics of medbed, by the way. So all of the woo-woos out there saying, why aren't the medbeds here? My challenge to you is go learn the physics. It's time reversal, making the stem cell media, which actually then takes you back to the root of that fractal, called the stem of the fractal. So all of these things fit together once we see. So when somebody says, well, who was Thoth? Thoth is actually a name in this sense for the pure principle of. So in a sense, what we call the ancient gods, they're not names and personalities. Their name is their shape, is their service, which is one, which is the pure principle of. So you inhabit the principle. And when you feel the principle so deeply that you tingle inside and you identify with that principle, suddenly you are the center of that tornado. And as Jake is famous for saying, he said, well, as soon as you realize you are steering the tornado, you are no longer food for the parasites.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's time to bring these amazing thoughts and ideas into practice, because this is an incredibly experiential physical work that we're doing. We're not just like in the realm of thoughts, we're in the realm of being. This is all about embodiment, And thought maybe been named after Thoth, so be careful here. Yes.
But
the real name, the ancient Egyptian name, is Jehudi,
Jehudi, which was later pronounced Tehudi.
Or Tahut, exactly.
Thoth, which then became TWT, became DWD, as Lawrence Gardner traced that history also.
And it's interesting, it's similar to the Arabic word taht, which means below or under. And this experience is all about going to the root, and it starts at the stem, at the root chakra, at the bottom of the spine. And so when I think of tahut and taht and going below the surface, like going deeper within yourself to uncover all the treasures and all the memories, because essentially to the higher self array, gold is the memory. And essentially when we think about the harvesting, the parasitic entities, why are they dark? Why do I perceive them? Why do people perceive them as dark entities? Because they're shadow entities. They're not of the light. They're of the shadow. And the shadow is unexplored treasure. It's like James Campbell would say, it's the hidden treasure. It's the hidden cave where the treasure is. You have to be able to go into the dark and find that treasure of your soul and bring it to the light. And to get there, you have to confront your fears, right? And be okay with being in the dark and not seeing clearly where you're going, but you're following a sense. And that's the soul sense, and that's the inner sight that we all have. And when we cultivate how to follow that inner sight, we can then arrive at the treasure of our souls and implode into fractality so that we can retrieve not only the memories, but also the knowledge, the technologies, the practices. I've been, working with Thoth, and he has been through my body. We've been doing like ancient rituals and ancient temple rituals that they would do in ancient Egypt. And I know that from memory. It's like as I'm doing it, I'm remembering. It's so familiar, you know? So you give yourself permission to access this higher array, this higher memory. You know, you allow yourself to tap into something bigger than yourself, into a bigger understanding of yourself that can blow your mind. Literally, it can blow your mind. So this is why we don't stay in the mind. We stay in the heart. We stay in with the breath, which is the chi, which is the prana, which is the life energy, the life force energy, and that pumping heartbeat, right? Like there is something to staying with that pulse of presence, just pure presence.
Meditate on the heart, and the heart harmonics and train the brain harmonics. I was just having a flashback as Dalia was talking about Joseph Campbell. It was called The Myth of the Birth of the Hero, but he called it the flight of the wild gander through the ages. Actually, that gander has just been singing here just a minute ago, if you listened. We're in the park in the Vernet. And what the myth of the birth of the hero means is the archetype of the principle of what is a hero, literally. And when that whole myth means there's really only one hero, it gets, like to say there's only one electron, it just gets around. Once you understand the principle, well, the same thing's true with the hero. So once you identify with pure principle, which obviously is the pure principle of service, and the pure principle what lies behind spiritual enlightenment, which is where all waves implode.
Absolutely, and we're moving into the many heroes, many lifetimes, many genealogies. Like, you know, when I speak about my memories and I claim my identity as the who I am presence, it's just being in the I am presence of the higher self. I am, like capital A-M. And so this does not mean that I'm holding a monopoly on any of these previous avatars. This is what happens when you embed in the higher self. You remember their impersonations, their incarnations, especially as it relates to your genealogy and your genetics, like DNA. So Thoth has incarnated as Quetzalcoatl in South America. I am not remembering these lives because that's not my gene pool. I am not from there. This is not my bloodline. I'm remembering my memories as Tutankhamun, and that's the Egyptian bloodline that I'm born in, as well as the past life of Jesus Isa, because that is also connected and branching from the Egyptian DNA. And it's, so it's people can have their experiences and can have their memories, and it's all great. Let's remember who we are and let's claim that, you know, like let's all do that. Why not? It's a celebration.
Steer the bigger array, be the bigger tornado, especially at a time when if we don't steer our tornadoes, look what's happening on the planet now. Oh my goodness, Philippines wiped out twice in 3 days, et cetera, et cetera. Who's supposed to be steering these tornadoes? Hello, we've taught for years, if you watch a shaman steering a tornado, the moment he says, I've eaten the chucha, which means I've consumed the anger, which just means I've felt the pain, and then the bioplasmic streamers from the belly of the shaman, the clairvoyant sees them embed in the center of the tornado's plasma, and suddenly the tornado fell in love with the shaman because it felt its pain greater than. And pain for a tornado is failure to embed, which means the metal trailer park over there, which does not distribute charge, that's pain for a tornado.
Or resistance, or inner resistance.
Which is inner and outer resistance, exactly. So suddenly, now steering tornado means identifying yourself with the places where distribution is possible, like
like in nature,
like beautiful
like right here
in Vernet.
Exactly, with the rivers and the trees. And speaking of which, maybe we want to announce a little bit, like we have some fun plans cooking up for people who want to come and be present here with us and explore some of these practices, like how to embed in the higher array. And definitely we're doing all kinds of energetic clearings here with the help of the Dragon Mother here in the Pyrenees, which she have like endorsed and guided me to do it for myself and for others. We've been having amazing like throat chakra clearings, all kinds of energetic clearings that just like, okay, we can blow this off like in a sitting, and then you become coherent in your vessel, and it allows for great changes, and it allows for this new beingness or this new identity of self, you know.
Dalia has been embedded in the dragon array of the Migdal. Migdal means to tower, is in the amygdala the towering brain when you have Kundalini or bliss. And so, in the dragon lines is like we say the last airbender. She's been calling the wind and calling the storms. Well, as you begin to embed in these magnetic lines of the sacred space, which for years we did tours here, the Grail Mysteries. So the summary, as Dalia says, that our, many years of work at fractalu.com and now with our 5th International Conference right here, we're planning a longer-term school, and one of the campuses here is this gorgeous hotel right here in Vernay-les-Bains, right behind us actually.
Yeah.
And so there's a at least 4 to 6 month long program being planned right now, beginning in early April, week-long courses in all this cosmic stuff, the same stuff you've been hearing at Fractal U for years.
Yeah.
And we just talked to Annie Williams about Magdalene and the Dragon Lines coming to play for a week there actually in June. The calendar will be published soon. So we're cooking on offering a major series of initiatory events, experiencing these dragon lines and talking. What did you say?
And healing work also, like with Carlos and the family constellations, we're evolving that to include generational planetary constellation healing, Yeah.
And Dalia said she met one of the major local ancient dragons, and she told her name.
Yeah, and it's a great honor because I don't think they tell their name for everybody. She told me her name, and her name is Mama Ria. That's the dragon mother.
The little town up the road is called Ria, and there's a place called the Pizza Ria. but Mama Ria is also Maria, so.
And also the Maria. So her female humanoid.
The name of the dragon
self,
queen.
Yes, is Maria.
It's real.
And so
this is a real living.
The mother is here.
Plasma being. And
she's here.
You can talk to them if.
Yeah, and she's communicating from the dimension where she is. With me and with us, and that's the beauty of this work, is that presence. It's no longer you're praying by yourself in the dark and waiting to be heard. Well, actually the act of praying is inaccurate, because praying and pleading, unless it's done with a pure heart intention, with a knowingness that you are that presence, that Sophia Maria lives within you, that she is truly your mother, then it's like, I don't know, like it's not gonna work in the way that you expect it to, because we're not looking for a savior. We're looking for the embodied presence and that voice that we can hear clearly and feel clearly throughout our lives.
Self-empowering, it's great. So in summary, more soon about this cosmic school. Stay tuned to fractalu.com. In the meantime, we're going to go back to the singing ducks here.
Yeah.
But we hope you've learned something about deep, empowering science and pure principle behind the Thoth Hermes Caduceus story, and seeing that we don't need to argue about the personality, because personality is a name ultimately for pure principle, which in this case is the principle, obviously, of implosion, fractality, the communion which heals.
DNA implosion and the Caduceus technology.
And Dalia has recently experienced some pretty dramatic healings associated with this dragon current work. So
and more about that. We will share more about that in the coming weeks.
More to come.
So expect we've been witnessing miracles here, like truly. So cool. more about that. All right.
More soon. Thanks, guys. The sun's going down. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.